Sarah Ferguson is preparing a tell-all memoir worth nearly $14 million, and many say it could shake the royal family more than any book before it. She claims that years ago she tried to warn the palace about Prince Andrew's troubling connection to Jeffrey Epstein, but nobody listened to her. Now she feels the time has come to speak openly, and she wants the world to hear her side. The book is expected to reveal private conversations, hidden scandals, and secrets the palace has protected for decades. Publishers are comparing it to Prince Harry's explosive memoir, and television networks are already offering her huge interview deals. Inside the palace, staff members are frightened, worried that she might expose everything they tried to hide. After more than 40 years of keeping quiet, Sarah says she is finally ready to tell the truth. Sarah Margaret Ferguson was born on October 15, 1959, at a private hospital called Mayfield in London. Her father, Major Ronald Ferguson, worked in the British Army and later became the manager of the royal family's polo ponies. Her mother, Susan Mary Wright, came from an old aristocratic family and grew up in a world of social events and tradition. Even though Sarah's daily life seemed middle class, her family was always connected to circles that were very close to royalty. She often heard stories about her ancestors, and because of her father's work with the Queen's horses, she sometimes saw parts of palace life from a distance. All of this made her childhood feel connected to the royal world long before she truly understood what that meant. But not everything in her early life was peaceful. When her parents separated in 1974, Sarah was only 13, and the breakup left a deep mark on her. She spent most of her childhood in Hampshire on her grandfather's estate in Dummer. It was a quiet place filled with open fields, stables, and horses. Her father trained the Queen's polo ponies there, so horses became a natural part of her life. At just 4 years old, she was already riding her small pony, Scotty, and being around horses became her safe space. As she grew older and her family life became more complicated, riding helped her stay calm and steady. Her father often worked at royal polo events, and young Sarah sometimes watched from the sidelines as princes and aristocrats came and went. She was close enough to see their world, yet far enough to feel she didn't truly belong to it. When her parents divorced, her mother moved to Argentina with a man she fell in love with, leaving Sarah in England with her father and his new wife. Sarah tried to keep in contact with her mother, but the distance made their relationship difficult. Her father went on to have 3 more children, and the family structure around her kept changing. These constant changes forced Sarah to become independent at an early age. Though the emotional turmoil was hard, it shaped her strength later in life. School life was a mix of success and challenges. She attended Daneshill School and later Hurst Lodge in Berkshire. She was not the top student academically, but she was full of energy and loved swimming, tennis, and drama. Teachers often remembered her as lively, friendly, and sometimes too enthusiastic for the classroom. After finishing school, she went to a secretarial college in Ascot, where she learned useful skills she would rely on later. It wasn't a fancy or glamorous path, but it prepared her for real work. By 18, Sarah was already working. She got a job at Butterfield and Robinson Travel Agency as a shop assistant and later became a receptionist at Capital Radio in London. This job was especially interesting because she handled calls for celebrities, including Mick Jagger. After that, she worked in public relations at Mayday PR and later joined an art gallery. Each job taught her how to communicate, how to present herself, and how to move confidently in different social settings. These experiences helped her develop a strong understanding of people, something that later became very useful when she entered royal life. In 1977, when she was just 18, she tried starting her first business, an import-export company called Fergie and Kit. It focused on French crystal and British wool, but the business failed within a year. Still, the experience revealed her willingness to take bold steps and try new things. Even though it didn't work out, she learned lessons she carried with her. 2 years later, she joined British Airways as a junior publicist. She helped organize fashion shows and charity events, which brought her closer to high society circles again. This job played an important role in shaping her confidence in public spaces. It also helped her gain skills that would prepare her for life in the royal spotlight. By 1980, she moved into publishing and became a press officer at Mills and Boon, the famous romance novel publisher. She promoted books in places like Australia and New Zealand, and her work increased their sales by 20%. This job gave her first real taste of success in the publishing world, which would eventually lead to her writing career. In 1981, she wrote a romantic comedy novel called Aunt Agatha, based partly on her own family, but no publisher accepted it. Still, the effort showed she had a strong creative side. In 1982, she began writing freelance articles for Tatler magazine, covering polo matches and high society events. Her father's connections helped her secure interviews with minor royals. She earned good money, built a name for herself, and developed a deeper understanding of society's upper circles. Sarah first met Prince Andrew in 1981 at a polo match, but nothing came from it then. Everything changed in 1985 when Princess Diana reintroduced them at Royal Ascot. This time, they connected instantly. Andrew made her laugh, and they discovered they shared interests like flying and adventure. The public loved their chemistry, and newspapers followed their every move. Andrew had recently returned from the Falklands War, and Sarah admired his courage. When they began spending time together, Sarah even took flying lessons. She earned her private helicopter pilot license after only 43 hours of training, impressing Andrew, who took nearly twice as long in military helicopters. He gave her a personalized Faberge clock engraved with a sweet message, showing how serious their relationship had become. Andrew proposed on February 23, 1986, at Flores Castle in Scotland. The engagement ring had a bright Burmese ruby surrounded by diamonds, chosen to match her red hair. When the engagement was announced, her photos filled newspapers across Britain. The royal family welcomed her warmly, and her friendly personality made the public adore her. Their wedding took place on July 23, 1986, at Westminster Abbey, watched by 500 million people. Her dress was stunning, weighing 25 pounds and decorated with nearly 10,000 pearls. She walked down the aisle on her father's arm while the world watched. The train was 17 feet long, and the dress included hidden letters A and S, symbolizing their union. People loved her because she seemed relatable, cheerful, and sincere. As the Duchess of York, she took on royal duties right away. In her first year, she completed more than 100 official engagements, many focused on literacy. In 1992, she donated £1 million from her book profits to help start the National Literacy Trust. Her generosity surprised many and helped countless children gain access to reading programs. That act became one of her most respected contributions as a royal. She also began writing children's books. Her first, Little Miracles, sold more than 100,000 copies in its first year. She illustrated some of the characters herself and visited dozens of schools to meet young readers. She continued writing, releasing The Gentleman's Daughter in 1994, which was published in magazines before the official book release. Her book Budgie the Little Helicopter, written in 1987, became so popular that it was turned into a children's TV series in 1994. It had 52 episodes and earned millions in merchandise sales. Children all over the UK loved Budgie, and the success helped strengthen her image as a fun, creative mother. In 1989, she began reading bedtime stories on BBC Radio 2, reaching about 2 million listeners each week. Her warm voice became familiar in many households, and children waited excitedly for her stories every Sunday. Sarah also built a powerful charity career. She started Chances for Children in 1991, raising money for children in difficult situations. She personally attended events, met families, and put in the hard work herself. Over 4 years, she raised £1.5 million, much of it by hosting large fundraisers and auctioning her own jewelry. In 1990, she became a patron of the Teenage Cancer Trust. She organized events, visited patients regularly, and helped the charity grow into a national name. Families always remembered how she sat beside patients, talked to them, and treated them with kindness. In 1993, she created the Sarah Ferguson Foundation and expanded her charity work worldwide. She helped fund clean water projects in India, raised money through book tours, and worked with UNICEF to make sure donations reached the right places. She visited villages herself, walked through crowded streets, and spoke to families to make sure everything was working properly. She also supported projects in South Africa and the United States, focusing on education, maternal health, and disaster relief. Her work was always hands-on and practical. She didn't just give speeches, she showed up, listened, and got involved. Because of this, many people respected her deeply despite the scandals that later followed her. By 1996, she had also become a supporter of the British Heart Foundation, adding another layer to her long list of charitable efforts. She kept moving through life with the goal of becoming a doctor, but she never imagined she would end up becoming the face of a huge sitcom. She auditioned for the part thinking she didn't have a real chance, but she got it, and suddenly her whole life changed. Even though the money was great and the fame made everything look shiny on the outside, she never fully lost her love for science. After the show ended, she could have stayed in Hollywood and continued acting, but she chose a different path. She did what most people in her position would find impossible. She returned to school and finished her degree in neuroscience, proving to everyone that she was more than just a TV character. Even though she took a break from acting, she had never been forgotten. When a new hit sitcom was being created, the producers remembered her immediately. They brought her back into the spotlight, and before she knew it, she became part of a wildly successful television show that turned into one of the biggest hits of the decade. The success was massive and the audience adored her character. Everything looked perfect, but behind the scenes, there were challenges she didn't always share. There was the pressure of long shooting hours, constant attention, and being compared to her earlier roles. She also tried to balance her personal life with work, which wasn't easy. As the years passed, she started to feel the weight of being known only as her character. She loved the job, but she also knew she had other passions. When she was offered a chance to co-host a major game show, it felt like a fresh start. She accepted the offer and tried her best to bring warmth, intelligence, and positivity to the show. Many viewers liked her, but the online world can be harsh, and she quickly became a target of criticism. Some people judged her personality, others complained about her style, and some compared her to past hosts. Even though she stayed professional, the constant noise began to affect her happiness. What happened next was not something she expected. After months of hosting, the producers suddenly made a change. They decided to replace her, and she learned the news the same way the world did. It was not a gentle process, and the public announcement surprised even her. People thought she must have done something wrong, but she insisted that she simply wasn't part of the final decision. The truth was more complicated than what people were assuming. She later explained that she felt pushed aside and that the environment behind the scenes was not as supportive as many believed. She had tried to stay positive, but the situation had slowly become uncomfortable. Even though losing the hosting job hurt, she refused to let it define her career. She talked openly about the experience and admitted that she wished things had ended differently. She also said that she valued honesty, and that honesty sometimes made people uncomfortable. She believed she was replaced not because she lacked talent, but because the show had already made a decision that didn't include her. It took time for her to process everything, but eventually she began focusing again on the things she loved. She returned to writing, podcasting, and connecting with people about topics that mattered to her, like mental health, science, and family life. Today, she looks at the whole situation with more peace. She says she is grateful for the opportunities she had and for the millions of people who supported her during the tough moments. She understands now that not every job is meant to last forever, and sometimes being pushed out of one chapter opens the door to a better one. She believes that everything she went through helped her grow, and she is finally ready to move forward without carrying the weight of the past.